Hey, Eastern Oregon, welcome to this December 1st version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. It's December.
We're on Roku.
And we're on Roku.
It's first Friday. We're almost to the weekend.
I don't have a recollection of Fridays or Mondays or whatever.
Everything just runs together. I can't believe it's already December.
Yeah,
It's December of 2022.
Yeah. So are you going to start wearing your Christmas outfits?
I don't have a Christmas. I'm bah humbug. Actually, no. When I'll really get into the Christmas spirit is when my kids get here, because I have them the week of Christmas, so that'll be my Christmas. You'll see me Christmas spirity. But besides for that,
it's not your thing.
Not really. I mean, it's I like the family part of it, but I don't like the gift part, because I think we've made it like, if the kids don't get a couple $100 worth of stuff, they're disappointed.
Yeah,
it's like, and we did that. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right. Whatever that was, we started it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's one of those. I don't mind it. It'll be fun. We eat good. I know that. I mean, we do prime rib at my house for Thanksgiving. So I mean,
for Christmas, yeah.
Not a lot of turkey fans in my family, so it's like it's easy to not have turkey. I mean, we usually don't even have turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like dry. You know, even if it's the best turkey you ever had, it's mediocre.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Well, I smoke turkeys, and that's kind of changed
your thought process.
Everything. Yeah.
I thought that for about 2 times when it was deep fried.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's like, it's turkey.
But see, I'm not deep fried turkey. I don't necessarily get the rave on that.
It's really moist.
Yeah. But I mean,
and the skin is phenomenal. That's the one good
smoked
part.
Turkey is like really moist. So that's kind of and it's smoked, so I like that.
Yeah.
It's actually,
I'd much rather have a smoked prime rib.
It's actually, well, and I'm with you there. I would go there with you. Yeah. It's like if I had smoked prime rib, I think would be kind of at the top of the stack for me. Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah.
We did the Cody Bowen show last night. We did really good. I mean, for the first time ever doing a live video from a moving patrol car. I mean, I think we killed it. We lost some signal at the end, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. And from the tech standpoint, they're like phenomenal hurdles for that. But yeah, I mean, I thought we learned some things from the tech standpoint.
Put a light on the camera so we can see outside. that might help. And I think the next time we do it, like, we got to do it like when there's more action, man. I want to, like, the whole point of doing it was like to see some action.
I know, but for me, I was like, okay,
don't get out of the car.
Yeah, don't get out of the car. I'm not sure we're going to be able to hear you if you get out of the car. Yeah, So it's like,
You're like, no calls. We got one call the entire time. It was a lift assist.
Yeah.
It was funny. Like when we were breaking up, we went up to, we were up at Sinclair, shortstop.
Yeah.
And we ran into some LeGrand City police officers, and Cody lit them up. Like just came up on them, and they get out, and he's like, they come up to the window, and he's like, "Careful, we're live right now." They're like, "We know, we're watching." It was pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah. So we do have the recorded version of that whole thing, and that we'll get it put up.
Yeah, because we were recording inside the vehicle,
right?
Which won't show the interference,
the breaking up stuff. Yeah. So yeah,
it was pretty dull though. I mean, honestly, we just kind of drove around and talked about. I mean, it was like we did the show inside a patrol car, basically.
Yeah.
Next time I want like a runner or something, like let's go on a hot pursuit.
Well, and that's the first time we've ever done. Most of the time when we do a football game or whatever the case might be, we're just streaming that directly to the world. That's the very first time we've done a full show where it's coming into the studio, and then we're capturing it and sending it out, which is another link in the process, another complication and stuff. So
there was a couple funny things. We had to sign waivers, like that we wouldn't sue, But a couple days ago, and I'll tell everybody about this. Cody says, "Hey, if anything goes down, it's every man for themselves." And I'm looking at him. I'm like, dude, like we're gonna have a camera rolling. First off, second off, like if something's happening to you, he's like, run, and I'm like, I'm not gonna run. Like no way, not on camera.
Yeah, you just imagine Bennett in the vehicle,
and I just hop out.
Yeah, and all you see is the bottom of your feet running. I mean, Bennett would be like,
I never hear the end of that.
He'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, it would take. Yeah, definitely. Bennett would be like kind of looking around, like caught in the vehicle, like
yeah.
And Cody shows up. He's got his bulletproof vest on, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, you don't usually wear that, like when you're coming around, just driving around. I'm like, what are we supposed to do? He's like, stay in the car. That's the first time I've ever done a ride along. Yeah,
cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never interested in being a cop because I have, I don't know how I'd handle people that are bad to kids. I always worried about that because like that's one of my. I don't handle like that kind of stuff very well because I had a pretty rough childhood myself. So like when it comes to that kind of stuff, like I never wanted to get into that field because I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Want to do sports?
It's rock and roll. EOU women's volleyball yesterday, they won their first game in pool play, 3-1. So they play tomorrow at 8 a.m. our time. I know the local showed the first game for people that don't want to pay the money. If they win this game tomorrow, they advance to the final 8, which is pretty awesome. I mean, they're the number 1 team in the country, so
right?
They should win tomorrow. The bracket, the pool for them is set up for they're the number 1 seed in the bracket, so they should move to the final 8. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, we've never had a team number 1 for one thing in the conference even, and EOU's never won a school sponsored national championship. I mean, of course, all the cross country guys from the 80s are going to be like, well, we won a national championship. Well, yeah, that was a club. That wasn't a school sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've never won a school sport national championship, which this might be the year.
Yeah.
It would be phenomenal. They wore these funny shirts for I posted it on Chucklehead Universe. They wore these funny shirts. So all the teams had to dress up. They went to like a Bullwinkles or something, for like a fun day, the first day they were there. And they did that bubble paint, on the shirts where it's popular to like for Halloween costumes a couple years ago, like you write the opposite of what you are on the shirt.
Yeah.
And one of them was Lexi. She ran into the scores table this year and got injured. Her shirt said, "I don't run into things." And then I'm sure they embarrassed the heck out of Khaki because Haley Aratola wore a shirt that says, "We don't have the hottest coach here." Yeah. And that was the picture that the NAIA posted on their website. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Todd, what's up, my man? LHS basketball. Todd reffed that game actually last night. They played Umatilla. It's crazy because Umatilla's 2A, but they field 3 teams. So they had JV, JV2 last night, and we lost to both of those teams of a 2A school. And then varsity came out and we beat them by like 30. But still, it's for a 2A school to field 3 teams is phenomenal. And then for them to beat the 4A schools, JV and JV2 is just it was different, I kind of worry about like LHS sports for the next few years because I've seen Union came into LeGrand a couple weeks ago, middle school basketball, and beat us by 20. I mean, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And it's kind of worrisome, like, because we're on the stretch of like really good athletics at the high school, and that might come to an end for a little bit because it's really weird. High school sports kind of go in ebbs and flows, right? Like there's a few years where you're really good, and then a few years where you're down, and then a few years, and a lot of it. I hate to say this, but the reality of it is, it's a lot of it has to do with parenting. Like it's the parents. It's like how involved they are, how much they're getting their kids involved in youth sports, and the coaching as well. If you have a coach like for say Macklemore, like the football coach, these kids, they've been playing football together for and baseball even a better example. Like the farm system, which would be like youth baseball and or whatever we play here, Babe Ruth or whatever it is, and Legion, they're building teams, and we're kind of missing that right now. So we might be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. It's you've got that group of people that are excited about it, enthusiastic, and passionate about it, and they get their kids involved, and that kind of ebbs and flows. I'm sure.
My junior year in high school, we won the IMC in basketball, which had never happened. I mean, we were the smallest 4A school in the state, but that group of kids all played basketball together since they were like 5. AAU, travel teams, you know what I mean? One of the crazy things, and you'll get a kick out of this, BC, I asked one of the parents baseball last year during the state championship run. I was like, how much money, if you had to like give me a number, how much money do you think all the parents of this group have spent on baseball and travel for these kids? And they were like easily over $1 million. Easily.
Yeah.
Easy.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, that's a big commitment.
That's a huge
for a state championship.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like it really is. It's crazy. LeGrand, I picked LeGrand to finish right at the top of the GOL again this year in basketball, but Baker's really good. So we'll find out. We'll find out. That's it for sports.
All righty. Cool. Well, let's look at the weather here. Look outside. It was snowing earlier. Let's see what Gabe has
heading into the day on Thursday, much of us will start out under steady moisture with that snow sticking as low as 2,500 feet. Those temperatures will reach the mid to the upper 30s for much of us, with that exception for that cold spot right around freezing in Meacham, warmest out towards Pendleton and Ontario into the lower 40s. Although some of these temperatures have already been reached for the day early this morning, others will wait to reach until closer to midday, but the trend will be as we progress throughout the morning. We will see that steady moisture break up as that cold front will follow, plummeting those temperatures during the afternoon, dropping that snow level down to 1,500 feet by late day, potentially producing a dusting of snow into Ontario and Pendleton, with the rest of us seeing up to an inch additionally during the day. If you want to see more than that, you really have to get up above 3,500 feet into places like Meacham, but that would only get you 1 more inch. The most would be into the highest elevations, up above Tollgate and into Anthony Lakes, where we could see upwards of 5 inches. Heading into the day on Thursday for LeGrand, it looks like this will start out right around freezing at the 8 o'clock hour. That will be our low temperature for the day, with steady snow with a bit of a westerly breeze gusting up to 25 miles per hour in spots before that becomes light and turns to the south by the evening. Just as I mentioned, by midday, that's scattered moisture, either in the mix of rain, snow, or grapple, as highs reach the mid to the upper 30s, otherwise becoming increasingly dry by mid to late afternoon, as we see a lot more sun breaks in the mix, allowing for those temperatures to rapidly drop. But there will still be a few flurries in the mix. In fact, some of us will be picking up light snow accumulations additionally. Best chance to see that would be the first half of the evening hours before we become increasingly dry overnight, dropping those temperatures into low to mid-teens. At this point, we will stay below freezing into Friday, with those highs struggling to reach 30 with a mix of clouds and sun. Can't rule out a slight chance for an isolated flurry. Otherwise, much of us will remain dry, with gusty winds returning late day.
All right, there we go.
Are those getting longer?
Well,
that one felt long.
It was almost 2 minutes, but the longer, but when he has weather, he gets really jazzed.
Yeah, I know. That kid likes snow for some reason.
He does. Well, it's funny. He lived over on the west side for a long time, and during this time of the year,
rain.
It's just pretty much all the same. Yeah.
Solid rain.
Yeah. And so
I live there.
So he's so excited to be in a place where it's like the weather is actually different,
That's because he doesn't have to drive. He doesn't drive yet. Once he starts driving, he's not going to appreciate the snow as much.
That's right. And I think his birthday is like coming up, his 18th. So happy birthday, Gabe. Yeah.
Is he going to be 18 soon?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. When he started doing weather, he was 16.
Right. Yeah. He's got a cool story. I mean, he decided when he was 4 years old that he wanted to be a weather guy. Yeah.
Like at 4 years old, I didn't even know what a weather guy was.
I know it.
Like,
I know it. Yeah. That wasn't even on my radar.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, all righty. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a minute with our guests, Lonnie and Bri from the Blue Mountain Humane Society, the local animal shelter. So we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Glad you're here with us. We are glad to have Lonnie and Bri. Bri has been on our programming a lot. I'm glad to have you back. And it's with the Blue Mountain Humane Association.
That's right. Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
It's an important difference.
Yeah. So tell me, why is it important?
It's important because there is another shelter in the area. It's actually in Walla Walla that's called Blue Mountain Humane Society. And they're a great organization, but they're not local. And a lot of people think that we are them or that they are us. We get calls for them sometimes. So it's an important difference.
Yeah.
I think
Good.
too, people think that when they donate money to the local Humane Association, they think that they're donating here, and then they end up mistakenly giving it to the out of area.
Sadly, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same goes for like websites. People will apply to adopt an animal from what they think is our Humane Association, and they're actually applying at the one in Walla Walla. So they just are so similar that people get confused.
Well, and when it comes down to money, that becomes kind of important.
Yes.
It does.
Yes.
It very does.
Yeah.
Very much.
So tell us what's going on. Catch us up on what's happening out at the animal. Now, and do you just call it the animal shelter? The local animal shelter?
Typically, I think that's an easy way to
Okay.
kind of make it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Lonnie, you were the pet patrol. That's not quite right, but you were
Dog patrol.
You were the animal.
I was the animal enforcement deputy for the sheriff's office for this year would have been 20 years
Wow.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've been in the animal world and saving animals and involved with the animal shelter over the years. And I've seen the rise and fall of the organization and the struggles that it's had. And so I've been on and off the board of directors now for the last couple of years, and with an intent to help, just because I've seen the struggles that are going on.
So maybe, without not going in too much of the past, maybe talk about what's different. Where are we at now? What's kind of changed, and how are you guys feeling about the health of the organization now? Yeah.
You go ahead on this one.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously the animal shelter has struggled. There's been some past struggles, some money embezzlement, that kind of stuff. Now as an organization, we've created a team of board of directors, and essentially we've put that all in the past, and we're moving forward to try to rebuild the organization. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of funds, so we've had to start from the ground up. It was basically in disarray. The shelter itself was, I guess, kind of dirty. We've had a state veterinarian come in and do an inspection, had a couple of different other veterinarians come in and help us to try to make it a humane place and sterile place for the animals. And then now we're just working on trying to rebuild the organization. A lot of that comes from the community too. We feel like the community probably doesn't trust the animal shelter and where it was. Just because you donate money, you want to know that it's going to the organization. And we understand that. And so one of the goals of why we're here is to let the community know that we are making it solid and we need their help.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at with the shelter. And Bri, you can probably chime in and,
Yeah, so we have a great, we've got a really energized board of directors now that's super motivated, and all of us, on the board are all volunteers, but we are all super passionate about animals. We've got a great team of staff out there that just works their little tails off. No pun intended. They do a great job. That facility, we are getting so much positive feedback from people who saw it before and who are coming out now, commenting on how clean and well kept everything is comparatively. We've still got a lot of stuff we're working on. We've got a wish list of just basic repairs that have needed to be done on the building that we're slowly chipping away at. We've got some great volunteers that are coming in, which leads me to my next thing, is that we could really use some volunteers at the shelter. If people are passionate about animals, whether they just want to interact with cats or just interact with dogs, if you're retired, if you've got some free time, we would love to have you fill out a volunteer form and come out, and you can walk dogs. You can just sit in a room and pet some kittens if you want. We've got all kinds of stuff, just animal enrichment, playing with a dog in a room. We would love the community to come out and just come check out what our hard work has been cultivating.
Yeah. So now, do you have an executive director? Are you doing that, or are you doing with filling that gap with volunteers right now?
So the board, we do not have an executive director.
you're looking at it.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Bri is the president of the board. I'm the vice president now. And essentially, we both work a full-time job to pay the bills, and then we eat, live, and breathe the animal shelter right now. And that's just because the funding is just not there for the director position. We do have some lead staff, but right now it's the board who's running the shelter. And it keeps the oversight, but in the same sense, we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to find the funding to be able to hire I wouldn't say director. I'm not sure we'll go that route just because of the past experiences with director, but maybe manager or someone who can be in charge. We do have a couple of lead staff, but yeah.
And that kind of, so you do have some hired folks to keep the doors open while you guys are working. Yeah.
Which we are now open on Saturdays, which is a new development that people
Right.
might not know about, which I think is really exciting. It's going to make it so a lot of people that are working, 9 to 5 can come out and see our animals and maybe take one home. We are open noon to 4, Tuesday through Saturday.
Yep.
To the public.
Okay, noon to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. Okay.
Yep. And then by appointment outside of those hours if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this shelter is a no-kill shelter, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, I don't, when did that change? And I'm, I
If I had to put a year to that, I would say probably somewhere between, I think around 2018.
Okay.
Ish. I mean, it might have
so
been.
not too long ago.
Not too long ago,
Yeah.
honestly.
And, but that
2016.
requires a lot more work and coordination. And so then if you have an overabundance of animals that need adopted, I don't know. Talk about how that whole system works. Yeah.
Essentially it does, Brent, because you can't take in every animal that comes in off the street when you're talking no kill.
Okay.
It's not feasible. You have to be very careful about the animals that you take in just because the adoptability. It becomes essentially kind of an inhumane situation when you're holding animals in an animal shelter. I mean, yes, they're getting exercise. Yes, they're getting the care, but reality is it's not ideal. Mm-hmm. So what it makes is like a cap that we have to essentially go by in order to make it work. So, we can't take in a large amount of animals and then have them just sit stagnant at the shelter for months on end. So it does limit the amount of animals that we can serve from the community. And it also limits the types of animals that we can feasibly take in.
Okay. And so then how do you manage the cap? Do you send some animals out to other agencies that can, and then what do you do for animals that they need a place, but you don't have the capacity? I don't know. Just talk about the whole dynamic of all of that. Yeah.
Well, so I can speak a little bit to it. So, for example, a common request that we get for surrenders is, my dog bit my child and we can no longer keep it. And it doesn't get along well with other animals and it's growling at us. And it's my daughter has to get stitches. Can you take it? That is a hard no.
Right.
So because we can't take that dog in and then adopt it out to another family knowing that it's done that. The liability, we won't do it.
The staff safety.
Exactly.
Keeping the community safe in the future. There's a lot of aspects to that we just can't take on.
Exactly. And with that being said, other shelters won't take them either because of that. So that is.
So then and I totally get that. What do those people do with that pet? That's kind of up to them. They have to give it to a ranch. I don't know. Sure. Maybe there
are rescues. I have a list of several rescues for different breeds. And so there are rescues that do help with that. It's a rough one, really.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of options for that situation.
Okay. So then when it's not that kind of a thing and you're just at a capacity, so then
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, we do everything we can to try to be able to, we can't take that animal in to work with other organizations to be able to ensure that, and if there's an immediate need and it's a severe emergency, we've got some other options.
Okay.
We have a waiting list. We do take precedent for certain things. For example, just recently there was a homeless individual in the community that had been living in a vehicle and had cats housed inside the vehicle, and that takes precedent. We want to help that individual. They're already down and out, and then the animals are also a part of that. So there are things where we triage, if that makes sense.
Right.
And then other times we do a waiting list. We move through those waiting lists fairly quickly. And that's, I think that was our intent to be here, is because we want to give a shout out to the community to say, we need you. Please trust us to know that we're rebuilding the animal shelter. And even if it's a small, minute donation, we have an Amazon wish list that we have listed on our website. We have a PayPal link that's listed on our website. Just trust us, and we're rebuilding, and we need the community. It goes back to, like, it takes a village. I mean, for an animal shelter, it takes a community. A 501(c) nonprofit organization depends on funding and finances by donation. We do hold a contract with local animal control, with Union County. One other thing that, might, I guess, secure that the community might have a little bit more hope for us rebuilding is that we've rebuilt the relationship between animal control and the sheriff's office and Union County, and that we've been working really close with Commissioner Scarfo, and he is trusting that we're doing the right thing. And I think that speaks volumes, because before there was a disconnect there, and we've rebuilt that. I've rebuilt the relationships with Oregon Humane. I've got a working contract with them. They'll take animals when we are at capacity. There are just some great things that we've done to rebuild our relationship with the community and also our reputation. And that speaks volumes. And honestly, it's like, even just when you're shopping, pick up a jug of bleach. I mean, whatever it takes. We have a bin outside the shelter gates. It's just a shout out to the community that we need you. And we're doing great things. Very
cool. And I know, Bri and I have been friends for a while, and I followed, you've been very involved, Bri, for a number of years. And so, and I believe in you. And so the minute you got on board, it was like, okay, things are, so I'm glad that you guys are involved. Really glad that you're involved.
Brent, I think that goes back to, my relationship with the community. I mean, I could tell you probably hundreds of thousands of animals over the 20 years that I was working at the sheriff's office. And when I decided to join the board of directors, I mean, I would never have joined probably a few years ago, knowing what I knew, but I have confidence that the animal shelter is moving in a great direction, and I want to help with that. And on top of that, want the community to know that when I've joined, that speaks volumes. Like, join me.
Right.
Help us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. So how did you guys talk about COVID a little bit? Because there was a big trend to where, since everybody was locked at home, they were wanting pets. And so there was a period of time where there weren't enough. I don't know, maybe talk about how you guys managed through it. And that's probably more your side, Bri, because you were there, and then, but also the other side of it, though, I'm the president of LeGrand Main Street, and board organizations that depend on volunteers really struggled during COVID, because it meant that just the few dedicated people were the ones that kind of carried the load. Yes. So I don't know, maybe talk about both of those things, Bri.
Well, thanks, Brent. That's a rough one. So I would say, I know that, like, in other areas, it was a big trend where it was like, animals were just flying out of shelters being adopted because people had more time. I would say here in Union County, we didn't notice a whole lot of difference.
There was an uptake, but it wasn't extreme. I mean, it wasn't.
We still had
but there was a time frame there where the adoptions were up. Unfortunately, as COVID hit the downslide.
Right. Yeah. Now what do we do with all these pets?
When people started going back to work, we got the opposite.
Right.
We got an uptake of people, owners surrendering their animals, because then they were like, oh gosh, I don't have time for them.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, and like Brent was saying, it is hard to, the board really dwindled and was just being, carried through by just a couple board members at the time. And so that's what's so exciting now, is that we're rebuilding the board. We've got several new members, and we're working on fundraisers. We just had this summer, we did our first Paws and Pints event at HQ, which was a benefit concert for the shelter, which, was super fun. We want to do more fundraisers and get more community involvement, more outreach stuff. We want to go back to how it was, 15 years ago. There was all kinds of fundraisers. The animal shelter, Lonnie was the animal control deputy at that time, she was working with the schools, doing assemblies. There was like,
there was an education piece that came into
Correct.
it too, like shout outs to the.
We've had Girl Scout troops come out. We've had like the tag program at LeGrand Middle School come out. The other thing that's fun is we've had businesses who want to start adopting or sponsoring adoptions of animals, which I think is a really fun way. If you're a business owner, if you would like to sponsor a cat or a dog and pay for that adoption and make it so that somebody who, maybe a person who's, elderly on a fixed income would really like an animal, but they can't afford it, that is kind of a game changer if you can get an animal sponsored or even a half sponsorship for a certain animal. And that's always a fun way too. If you're a little bit leery about, if you don't quite trust where your money's going to go, then sponsor a dog. Pick one out on our website and say, I want to sponsor this dog. It will help so much.
So there's a couple of developments that I've been caught. One is, Molly, the canine, has been a part of all of our world for a while. Kyle got bit by Molly at one point. Yeah.
I have also.
You have also, yeah. So that's a special badge that.
Badge of honor.
Yeah. So,
I'm
but
jealous.
kind of on the opposite end of the Molly spectrum, the DA's office now has some kind of a yeah.
I don't remember what her name is.
Yeah. But it's kind of a victim comfort dog, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's very cool. Yeah.
I think that pets and just in general can put people at ease.
Absolutely.
There's definitely something to say about an animal being present when people are in a traumatic situation. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, very, very cool. So what do you guys? What are the goals? I mean, I know that there's a certain amount of whenever you're working through an organization that has problems that your first goal is, okay, let's just get back to some kind of a baseline.
Yes.
Let's just get back to, if we can just have business as normal, just pay the bills, just keep the doors open,
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be a goal out there that you think is reachable that would be, kind of what's the next place that you want to get to?
I think funding is really where it's at, just because of the financial hardship that the animal shelter had to overcome after all of the, previous, situations. And again, we're not going to go into that because we're moving forward, but the financial piece is huge. Just getting more donations. We're looking at trying to find someone who has grant writing experience, and add those people to the board of directors that can look at grant writing. We've done some great things, like you said, rebuilding. We've got an individual on the board, Mary Horn, who does our website now. She keeps that up and going, and it's all current. That's huge. Bri and I have been working Facebook and the Facebook page. We keep that updated. We want to be transparent with the public. And that's something that wasn't happening before. And I think that's where the hardships came, is that there was stuff being hidden, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't want that. We want people to even feel welcome to come through the doors and ask the questions, where is the public's money going, those kind of things. And so moving forward, our goal is really funding. I mean, we
need help.
We're really skimming by.
Yeah.
I mean,
We've cut costs dramatically and are basically running it on a shoestring budget right now, but we're comparatively to how much we were spending annually. I say I was on the board at that time, but like in 2016, comparatively, we're running at like 50% now with inflation and everything, which I think speaks volumes as to how much we could do if we just got a little bit more extra help. We've got tons of wish list goal ideas just to make it so that there's, a bigger socialization room out there so that if the weather's bad. We've also added several additional fields outside the facility, which makes it awesome because especially when the weather's nice, but even when it's not, the dogs all get outside yard time. And I'm not talking little yards, like they're big, they're huge yards. So like during the day, we have some of the dogs, we can have 2 to a yard. People can go out there and throw balls for them. They can, go hang out with them.
That's huge, because you think in terms of how stir crazy they must get being in a kennel all the time. And so you get behavior issues when a dog is, cooped up there. When an exercise dog is a healthy dog,
right,
a well-behaved dog. So, those are things that we've done. All of the things that we're doing, it's just, again, it goes back to the funding. And the animal shelter is an asset to the community. I mean, if your dog gets out, just know that if it ends up landing at the animal shelter, we will take the best care of your animal, and we will do what it takes to get your animal home with you. We work with animal control. We're, working as a group to try to make that happen.
We're constantly trying to monitor the pet classifieds to see if a dog that's posted on there that's lost is in our facility. We don't want to keep people's dogs.
right.
We want to get them home where they belong.
And the goal is just to keep the doors open. I mean, it is an asset to the community. If there was not an animal shelter, I can't imagine what it would be like in our community, just because we can't help them all. And we already see what it's like for the animals and the people being frustrated when they have like that feral colony of cats in their community and nobody's helping and that kind of stuff. Think in terms of it just not being there at all. I mean, you lose your dog and then where is it going? I mean, certainly we'd probably do some sort of holding facility for animal control, just because they're going to need that. But in the end, it's like, what if a citizen finds your dog and there's no holding facility?
Right.
And we publicize on, every social media aspect we can when a dog comes in and it's lost its family.
Right.
And we've had a huge uptick in that in the last couple of weeks. We've had a ton of dogs that have not been claimed by their owners.
Huh.
So we're really hoping that we can. So if you're watching this and your dog is missing, or someone whose dog is missing, we might have it. Please contact the shelter if you are missing, know someone missing a dog.
Yeah.
One really quick thing that I wanted to touch on that Lonnie mentioned was feral cats. And that's one of the biggest requests that we get constantly is, I've got feral cats or, wild cats on my property. I need you guys to take them. And we acknowledge that there is a huge feral cat population in Union County. We're in discussions with Commissioner Scarfo and Animal Control on trying to find a solution. But right now, there is no way that financially we could take that on. It is a huge endeavor with the population that's out there right now. And honestly, we can't adopt them out. Like, it's a hazard to the staff when we put cats like that in cages. They'll attack. They're not tamed down. If they're little tiny kittens that people find, that's different. But like, if you've got 20 feral cats on your property, it's just a huge cost, and there's no way for us to house them. We would be overrun.
This ties into, Bri, with what Brent was saying about your question, like moving forward, what is your goal? Like, if we could, essentially get grants, there are grants out there that just cover feral cat populations, spay, neuter, trap, release, that kind of thing. And that is one of our goals, is if we can financially move forward and kind of get solid, is finding grants that we can help the community. Unfortunately, we're just limited right now on what we can do. And I know that's very frustrating to the community, but I invite people to just understand, and come out and take a look at even the finances. I mean, it's just the money is not there. And as Bri was pointing out, all those factors, that play in, it's just not feasible for us to be able to help with that situation right now.
But we would love
forward, 100%.
And we acknowledge that TNR is the most humane form of dealing and helping with feral cat populations, which TNR stands for trap, neuter, return, or trap, neuter, release. And that's another long-term goal wish list. So, but we just need funding.
Yeah. So what is your, what is kind of a normal budget year annual that you need? How much?
If I had to put a figure on that, Brent, I'd say that minimally we would operate at right around $120,000 a year.
Okay.
But that's minimal. And when I say minimal, I mean that just barely keeps the doors open. Yeah.
Okay.
And we do get funding for a portion of that, like I said, through contracts with animal control in the county. But that's not even half of that figure.
Right.
So
I would also like to give a specific thank you shout out to Commissioner Scarfo because he was able to assist us with getting a new heating system and cooling system put in that building. And also it's going to create additional ventilation, which is huge because there are rooms in that building that don't even have any ductwork or ventilation. And we are so incredibly grateful. And he's
so helpful.
He's so incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
We appreciate his help tremendously.
Excellent. Well, great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad to know both of you personally, and so I understand. I mean, I understand the value of the shelter and what it does, and I understand the complexity of operating and doing that, you know, and I understand the passion that you have for. I mean, there's a whole bunch of connections there, you know, and I love holding kittens too. So I mean, it's so funny because I've said that, you know, the wonderful thing, and I say that about children too, babies and children, toddler, you know, and pets are that same thing, is that when you are with a pet or you're with that group that I just mentioned, you're in the right now, because a dog does not care what kind of a day you had. All they know is that, hey, I'm so glad to see you.
They just love you.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with grandkids.
In your worst moments.
Yeah, it's the same thing with little kids. I mean, they're just, you know, it's the only thing that matters is right now. And it's kind of that is a great moment for people that are busy. Yeah, because they're like, you know, you're so far out there thinking about what's next, what's the next appointment. I mean, I had people last night say, you know, I mean, I was in a meeting yesterday at noon and they said like, hey, that was a great event the other night. And I'm thinking, I mean, I had no recollection of what they were. It was a big event. It was the Main Street event, you know, downtown. It was like, I mean, because it is gone. I mean, I'm on to the next hurdle, you know, and so, you know, pets and children, that is such a wonderful thing to bring you down to right.
Yeah. Well, there's
now.
studies that are
Right
proven
now.
that show that like they will lower your blood pressure.
Yeah.
They will calm you down, which also one last thing I also wanted to mention is we also need fosters. So we have had certain situations, like we had a homeless individual that was living in a tent who had a pregnant mama dog who ended up having 7 puppies out in the cold. This was just 7 weeks ago. And a community member was able to to work with this individual to let them take him in. And they came into the shelter, but they didn't really come into the shelter yet because they've been kept in a home with a foster. And it's so nice when we have people who are willing to do that, because for one, we really don't like to take newborn puppies in the shelter. There's a risk for, you know, potential stuff because they're unvaccinated and with the traffic that comes in and out of there. But that's another huge thing that people can do too, is they can foster. If we've got a mama cat that's about ready to have kittens, if they're okay with that, or if you want to, you know, foster a little baby kitten or some, you know, we have some senior dogs in there, like some little tiny, cute little senior dogs that it's scary out there for them. And they do so well in like a home environment. And then they just blossom into this from a scared little shaking creature to this loving, secure. Sorry.
And no, it's okay. And as the year ends, I think, you know, tax write-offs, you know, tax season's coming. A 501(c) nonprofit organization can give you a receipt for a tax write-off if you donate. So, you know, just think about your animal shelter.
Time of year.
And even if you don't donate money, if you donate food, if you donate treats, anything you donate to the animal shelter, we can give you a receipt for when you come in. And that can be a tax write-off. So just things to think about. It benefits the person and it benefits the animal shelter.
Cool.
We also are going to have an EOU is doing a
giving treat
for us. Yes.
Good.
So thank you, Eastern Oregon University, for that.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are here. And, you know, I mean, we've done, and we've talked about this many times, you know, I mean, I'd love to somehow get us plugged into helping you, do regular reports on what's happening out there.
We'd love to.
We would
Yeah.
love to be a part of that.
Yep. So if we can just figure that out from a production standpoint,
We always want the community to know what's happening. We are as transparent could be, and that's important from where they
Come on out and see.
Yeah.
Good.
Just during business hours, noon to 4.
Well, that'd be fun. Kind of do a live show out there. Do something out there.
Absolutely.
So then, we could kind of drag a camera throughout the different areas and kind of what it is you're doing. And
We
stuff.
would love that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Kyle, we'll just keep them here, and you want to get us out of here?
All right. I put the BM Humane, the link in the
comments. Okay.
And to the support page too. So if you want to help them out, it's right here. The link's right there on Facebook.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's get us out of here.
All right.
On this day,
December 1.
1887, Sherlock Holmes first appeared in print in The Study in Scarlet by author Conan Doyle. 1887. 1903, The Great Train Robbery, the very first Western film ever, was released. It starred Justice Barnes and G.M. Anderson. 1913, on this day, the first drive-up gasoline station opened in Pittsburgh. On the same day, Ford Motor Company instituted the world's first moving assembly line for vehicles. So the first gas station and the first moving assembly line opened on the same day.
In this
1913, on this day.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
1929, the game of bingo was invented by American toy salesman Edwin S. Lowe. 1953, on this day, Hugh Hefner published the first edition of Playboy magazine featuring Marilyn Monroe as the magazine's first centerfold. 1955, on this day, this is a big one. Rosa Parks is arrested for refusing to move to the back of the bus and give her seat to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama. 1959, on this day, this is a big day. The first color photograph of Earth was sent from outer space.
59.
1959, color photograph of Earth.
Wow.
Yeah. 2018, on this day, world's first super high definition 8K television is unveiled by Japanese broadcaster NHK.
What year?
2018.
Okay.
So it's already been 4
8K.
years that 8K is out.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. And then 2019, on this day, the earliest traceable patient, a 55-year-old man, developed symptoms of coronavirus in Wuhan, China. 2019, on this day. So it was like, remember 2002,
Yeah.
early 2020 was when everything hit the fan.
Yep.
It's crazy, you know. It's just like that was 2 years ago already. Wait, no, that was 3 years ago.
Right.
Oh my goodness! Well, time just flew. What do you think, Bri? What do you think the number one song in the country on this day in 1992 was? I'll tell you one thing: huge, and it was from a movie.
92.
Huge.
You got to give me a little bit more of a hint
She's
than that.
dead. She's dead.
Whitney Houston.
Yes, definitely.
job.
I will always love you. Whitney
Of
Houston.
course.
Yeah. I mean,
The
1992.
greatest singer of all time, in my opinion.
And then the
The Bodyguard.
quote for the day: "No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted." No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
That kind of goes with the animal shelter stuff.
Good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All righty.
Links are in the comments.
Yep.
Go donate.
And this is a good time to get out and do that.
Yep.
Thank you, Eastern Oregon, for tuning in.
See you Tuesday.
All right.